Hello, beautiful women. So good to be here with you, Jack and Ellen and myself. And here we are wanting to talk about something that's kind of close and dear to our hearts and seems to be a growing momentum, and that has to do with this paradigm shift that is happening globally. And it's happening on all levels in terms of authoritarianism, people rising up and wanting to find their voice and to see clearly and to be, living more from a place of sovereignty and speak out against abuse and predatory behavior and inequality. And so, since we're spiritual teachers and leaders, we thought that it might be good to talk about this in terms of our the spiritual dimension. This part that is, they're all connected. It's all connected, but there's a collective movement, and for us, I think part of it has to do with wanting to bring more, perhaps, the humanizing aspect to awakening and. Yeah, so here we are. And I'm really happy to be here and to talk about this. And Jack, you said something earlier before we went on, and you were just saying that it's why is it that it's so difficult to find words and find our voice in terms of just speaking something that is just so should be and is self-evident,
Mm. And in that conversation, you were saying it's so clear on the inside, the expression. And then it's the language is the piece that's tricky. I think it will be tricky for us until it's not tricky, because there is a phase of where the norm is that we haven't been given the microphone. We have not been selected as key speakers. We have not been on eminent panels. Even chatting to platforms that feature a lot of teachers, it's like, well, there's just a lot more male teachers than female teachers. And I always say, are you sure about that? Sure about that? We don't promote ourselves in the same way. So as a result, because the system, I think that is dying, promotes a certain type of presentation, it can be quite performative. That's not a lot of our styles. So women are usually not performative. And so we don't have the opportunity to find the language. And if we don't have the opportunity, we don't practice finding the language. So here we are. Let's use this as an opportunity to what wants to be said here at this very important, pivotal time.
Mm. Yeah. Ellen, whatever.
So I mean, I'm noticing immediately it's a gender. At least one of the aspects of what we're talking about is something to do with women and men. I mean, I'm aware that there's more than two genders, or there's a whole, but in this particular topic, or around this particular topic, at least for myself, I think maybe I can only speak for myself and my own journey, and also maybe the women who have come to my meetings. Maybe I notice a difference with the men, and it is to do with having been conditioned from the get-go, as a little girl, not to be encouraged to explore and to sort of interrogate what I think and what I feel. And, it's so early in our culture, the conditioning is already hushing up that place of authority, and at least for myself. And then, as I went on my, life journey, I think I was really seeking authority, certainty, father figures, all that kind of thing. So once you reach the sort of end of that journey, there's quite a lot of work to do to, I don't know, undo it, realize what has happened, try to understand why that happened, and then really the sort of very vulnerable or humbling task of trying to find that voice. And at first it does come out a bit and it's quite difficult, because you do, as you say, Jack, have models that are these, and I don't want to categorize too much, but these very articulate, Gentile formulations, men in general. It's true. So yeah, I don't, like it's been exciting to not to care anymore and to really encourage the people who come to my small gatherings, and I have no desire to step up on a stage. I really, really don't. I would be happy to sit on a panel, and I love being with you three, but really to encourage the people and myself to explore and not to give the answers. That was a thing. The certainties and the answers were not to say that there are not answers to be given, but yeah. So that's a beginning. I don't know. Maybe you guys, you gals, can ping pong.
There's sort of this, well, part of the shift for me is just realizing more equality in general for all people, and I have to include myself in that, and to see where, Ellen, you were bringing up just how in the beginning, in terms of going to teachers and so on, and that's what I kind of interpreted. There was just this sort of this natural kind of system that was already in place of this, and to me, it's actually an entitled system, and so much of it has been sort of, it's been handed on, it's something handed down. It's not something that has been implicitly questioned. It's been questioned here and there, the different models, the guru model and all that. And in the West, we don't buy into it in the same exact way. But still, it's still been in place. And the same is true in all spheres of life, that that we've been conditioned to take part in. And so the same is true in the spiritual world. Like there's going to be a leader, or someone that is has all the knowledge and has the information, and the way that it's dispensed is done in a certain way, top down. And I'm not suggesting everything needs to be toppled, or for me, it's about questioning and looking at what is really helpful and true and supportive to this, to what's taking place in terms of the world is falling apart, as we know it. Things are falling apart, and it needs to fall apart everywhere.
Right?
And so these earthquakes and these kind of shatterings in the spiritual leadership world, where people, who've been highly respected by many, are being toppled and have throughout time, right? It's almost like the camel's back has been broken, it just takes one more hair and everything falls, one more feather and everything falls. The house of cards falls. And I think that that's what's happening, is that the house of cards across the board of giving our power away and being naive, being naive as people, but being naive also as women,
Mm.
in terms of misplacing authority and questioning more deeply this arrogance that just seems to live in this kind of entitled authority, you know, that is just so taken for granted. And how the feminine voice, whether it's masculine or feminine, but the feminine voice in a man or a woman is not listened to. It's not listened to. It's not valued in the same way. And this damage is created such
This damage creates a lot of damage.
a lot of damage. And look at Mother Earth, right? The damage that's
Yes.
being done. So
Yes.
that's what,
Yeah.
just finding the words for this. It's crazy. I feel strong inside of myself of what I know to be true. And then have it come out is just kind of like, a little
Mm.
shaky, a little shaky. Do I dare speak about this more openly? We've been so careful. We've been conditioned to be careful to not talk about this
Yes.
stuff, and misogyny and
Yes.
so on. And
Yeah.
we and entitlement. We've been trained to be careful.
Yes.
right?
And the silencing has been sophisticated,
Very,
you
very.
know. And I noticed like there's something very exciting right now. That's why I love these calls and, you know, talking to people who can see the bifurcation that's going on. When prior to this, you're right, Suzanne Marie, like it was scandals before. Oh, there's a scandal around so and so. This isn't a scandal.
No.
It's not a scandal what's happening right now around systems breaking down. Systems are breaking down. The pedestals are dissolving, you know? So it's shifted, which is really exciting, I think, and hopeful for change. But before, like whenever, it'd be interesting to see was this your experience too, but whenever I'd be saying, well, why is it, you know, that on this platform you're just presenting men, or why were there no women in that panel? Or, you know, I would go to the organizers of things, sometimes at my own cost. And, you know, invariably when word would get out, I would be accused of being jealous, or I just wanted to get the microphone. I'm like, no, it's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the system, I'm talking about the structure. But there's the silencing, somebody judging, like, oh, you're just jealous of what the male voice has. It's not about that. It's not about matriarchy replacing patriarchy. That's not what this is about. It's about something new it has to emerge like a phoenix from the ashes. But the ashes, you know, are increasing in piles around the place. We're seeing it, the damage, and what will come out of it. Yes, I believe is being informed by these voices that were silenced. But I don't think it's a model that we can fully describe yet. At least I can't. I know it has a collective. I know it's shared. I know it's more embodied. It's more human. It gives spaces for all aspects of what it is to show up in this dimension. I don't see it lacking in anything
Maybe,
at all. Mhm.
and maybe we mustn't know what shape it's going to take, you know, for as long as possible, in a way, right?
Yes.
Because I feel like in a lot of the, and I hate sort of generalizing, because there's such good stuff out there too, you know.
Yeah.
And also I just want to, you know, I feel like you're both saying it's a new paradigm shift and all that, and part of me goes, I'm not so sure, you know what? I'm not so optimistic about this. I feel like I do feel something's happening, but I feel like right away, because we're in a culture that's so polarized, and the social networks, everybody goes at it with their reactions, and me included. But you know, we're all trying to find, you know, where we stand with this, you know, this issue and this person, and is it a yes or a no? And you know, that is, I find more and more that I can't bear it, because I feel like it's a sort of addiction. It's sick. But so that's where I'm not feeling optimistic, is that it's almost like the work is elsewhere than public. I mean, this feels sane because we're not, you know, we're listening and we're reflecting together, but we're not sort of trying to grab a position or an opinion. So I guess, what am I saying? I'm saying, I don't know what I'm saying. Oh, I love not knowing what I'm saying. Something about a lot of space is needed. Yeah, including the finger pointing sometimes, the anger, the rage, the inquiry into what kind of condition has given rise both to voiceless women and people, and entitled, or at least powerful teachers who may have some very good things to say, but nevertheless are very often wielding their power, or very unconscious that they have that power, and gaslight. You know, there's a lot of gaslighting, I feel, that can happen in satsangs, simply because the questions that are brought get diverted so quickly, and it's subtle, you know. Anyway, I'm naming lots of things, but yeah, I feel passionate, and at the same time, I know we need space. We need to be together with each other. Like now, it's so nice. I see your face. We're breathing.
Mm.
No rush. I don't know. Like fuck rushing. Excuse my French.
Yes.
No, not excuse.
Exactly. It's
Yeah, no
welcome to.
hurry. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It does feel like there needs to be a the paradigms are being shaken
Yeah.
all
No, that's
over,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
across the board. Now, coming straight to transformation doesn't necessarily take place. There's a release process that needs to be breathed into and lived. And the release process is our conversations, our coming together, our doing movement all on your own at home and releasing, because
Yes.
things are being shaken. I think our foundations are being shaken, and so the
Yes.
collective is shaking.
Yeah.
The paradigm of dominance is not sustainable, and so it's almost like the animal of our bodies and the animal and Mother Nature herself is shaking because it's not sustainable. And so that's part of the release. That's part of maybe the intensity, at least in my voice at times when I'm talking about something like this. It's because of the shaking inside of this is not sustainable. It doesn't just leap over straight into now what? There has to be a bridge, there has to be, it has to be given voice and you know, just felt into, I suppose. At the same time, there is sort of maybe some of us more, we're all have different bodies of how we're going to experience um, change. And that's what I do feel like is being asked. It's just, human beings, we need to make a change. Yeah.
For me, whether it's, I don't know what a new model is going to look like. I don't see any phoenix, but I don't even know if it's going to be a model other than the way that my femininity understands becoming, emergence. Those words that have, they're about ongoing evolution in a growth way. Like looking at Mother Earth, like it's never really complete anywhere. So like, I love what you're saying about like moving at home or sitting and I don't know, slowing down. It's like, yeah, these in my brain are the qualities of emergence, always emerging without a system, without anything, but this constant ability to move and process and be with what's happening now and let go and see what's being asked of us next. That's as close to a system that feels innate to what I understand comes from my own femininity, And it might feel nebulous unless people are into that ongoing inner movement.
And that movement, like as I'm watching you speak, I'm feeling you, and it's like toiling the soil, and I'm thinking about compost, and I'm thinking about the shadow, and that word gets thrown around so much. It's sort of a little annoying because it gets sort of watered down, what actually we mean about shadow and shadow work. I don't like that word either, really, but how important, like I love how you sort of describe this sort of process of sometimes this and sometimes that, and not yet, and the clarity around the attempt at clarity around shadow, around what exactly is happening in certain non-dual circles where light and peace and happiness are being sort of put forward, or I don't know, something that's ever so spiritual, and what's going on there, and to really, I think, bring a certain sort of surgical, I don't know, gaze, like, and not just out to them, but in, it's like a double gaze. It's like you have to look at, it's in us too, right? I mean, at least it's in me too, that I know I was so drawn to the light, and I know what spiritual bypass feels like. I know it very well. But then, to go deeper, what exactly is being what exactly has been abject in our experience. And as women, we know, we are the abject in a way. I don't want to dramatize, but in a way, we are the abject in a certain place, in a certain psyche place. So, yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. I just go off on these rants, but the importance of exploring the shadow.
Mm,
And I think we need each other to do that. It's hard to
yeah.
do that on your own.
Yeah. Well, there
Um,
is a shadow, Ellen, in terms
you know,
of this imbalance, in terms of how well satsang, something about it itself, I bought into it too. I just want to be honest. I bought into it in terms of placing the authority outside of myself to a certain degree. And then when I started sharing, just using that same kind of paradigm, but I don't think that I was using it in the same exact way because of who I am, honestly. Because dare I say, I didn't come to it with an agenda to want to be famous or have a following.
Mhm.
It was really, truly this real, I mean, really something that does take place of this kind of push from life to want to share,
Right.
really a push from life to share, because I was so attuned and being careful to be listening deeply to
Mhm.
what how I was supposed to live my life and what I was meant to do for work. So when I came to that kind of paradigm of being in front of others, but still there was still a system that was set up that was, an agreed upon system. And
Yeah.
now I was the voice. This was the voice, whatever this is, right? This was the voice. And it still creates, I'm not saying I know what the answer is. I'm not leaping into a new model per se. I just want to voice it, Um, the one who knows suddenly, the one who knows. And luckily, most of the responses came from what the unknown, from the unknown. But
Yes.
still, there's some kind of authority there. And one of the things that for me has been the hardest, the most challenging part of all this, um, and I always say you can't pay a teacher enough to put up with this part because you can't. And that has to do with projections. So it's like, and what I mean by that is that doing this kind of work isn't just when you clock out, it's over. You walk off the stage or you walk out of the room, the circle, whatever it is, it's not necessarily over. You meet people in the hall or you have the tea or whatever, you receive emails, and there's so much projection, like one is constantly almost like a public servant. You're constantly a teacher and you belong to whomever. This sort of entitlement goes both ways. There's the entitlement in terms of the teacher taking that kind of, I'm entitled to be the authority. And entitlement can also take place in terms of being a student or a learner, a seeker. And I probably did this too. I did this too. I did it with Amma. I did it with some of the teachers that I've thought that I think are really good teachers.
Mm.
Almost like they are still there for me in some way, even when they're just standing in the hall and they're
Mm.
being kind enough to say hello to people. They're still there in some way, and there's still something for me to get. And so I don't know what I'm saying here, but there's just something that is just imbalanced on both ends, both ends. And I played into that as a teacher that I was still there for others. I took that in. I believed it in some way. And there's something about that, it feels like a shackle too that wants to come off.
Mm.
I don't know if you relate.
And yeah, no, I'll just, what comes to mind is that in a way you can't take the shackle off, but it's so beautiful that you're attempting to be aware. For me, that's the so-called shadow work. You're shining a light on all these places. You're aware of them. You think about it. You tell us about it. and we respond, and maybe, and just that's the work. It's to open our mouths and explore our experience. But some of these other teachers, or maybe us in the past, or in another paradigm, God forbid, you should even acknowledge that to yourself, and certainly not to your friends, or or you might have some sort of facile, I'm not a teacher, or something that is so clearly not, sort of an avoidance. And so there's many ways that you might avoid what you clearly are not avoiding, Susanna, just by speaking about it. And then, I don't know, then something evolves, something changes, you get an insight. Because in a way, it's not like it's natural that people would have, we do that, all of us, as babies, with our mothers, and with our teachers and with our peers. So it's not wrong what you're describing. It's just that it's very loaded if it goes under, and if unconsciously the teacher plays on, as you said. So, but I think it's very beautiful that you just naming it, and and to me that's just so touching, that maybe that's precisely because I know you, Jack, so I know you're sort of, it's a similar intention. It's so passionately intending towards honesty, towards transparency, towards communication, towards sort of equality. And I find that's just fantastic.
Thank you.
Because it's not about hitting it right in the end. Yeah. I mean, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think what I've had a little bit of time to try and find words for what's emerging right now in the conversation. And my rough attempt at that is like, you're naming the transactional part that has grown out of a few thousand years of religion, spirituality, where it got murky in the middle, where it merged. And I think a lot of the shadow transactions, the bypassy ones, the ones that protected and gave immunity and the right to be avoidant to the spiritual leader, which is basically abuse of power, those transactions, we're naming them. We're starting to name them. Like, right. These are transactions. And like, where's the relationship? Because the transaction is overriding the relationship. And there aren't clear guidelines of what is the relationship between, teacher and student. What would it be like to define that at the start of a retreat for a weekend? Like, the relationship here looks like this. Do you agree to that part of the relationship? To like, just to be honest and open about it, and remove the transaction part, or have the transaction part there and the relationship part here. But it's all murky. And this is where the entitlement is. I think.
Yeah. No, that's well put.
Yeah. Go ahead, Susanna.
Oh, I don't know. That's it. What do you
want to say? I find that very thought-provoking, because when you go see a therapist, and I know, we're not therapists, but in a way there is an analogy there. It is defined. It's a ritual space in a way. There's a container, there's a time frame, there's a fee. So it is transactional, but it's, there is a container within which everything is possible in a way. But with the spiritual circles, it's all sort of fuzzy. You're right. It's it's interesting. We could be everything as a spiritual teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the topics that this kind of, for me, veers into is just this, I think, liberating, in a way, growing possibility of the humanizing awakening, so that the human, what part of the human remains, what once, like, self-realization's taken place. There's a whole embodiment journey we know about, right? How it lives throughout one's life and body. But what remains, and what's actually becomes more liberated in terms of the human part, the human being, human and being, what part, the human part itself, you know, grief and sadness and joy, and just the way it filters, how reality filters through a human is different than the way it filters through my dog, Nala, and through a tree and through anything in creation or mountain. And so through the human, it has certain, we have certain senses and certain responses. And the traditional kind of paradigm that's been handed down through centuries is that realization and enlightenment, all those kind of words, that they sorry, this thing keeps popping up, that the human part just gets pushed aside, as we know, as we all know. That's just been the paradigm and the model. And now it's been that we're evolving. Spirituality is evolving, and it's including more of the human and of actually living here. And so I think that one of the ways, as we're talking, one of the ways that this kind of transactional piece could be maybe just sort of softened and maybe liberated a bit is educating ourselves and one another about what actually still is here, and to not expect it to go away, so that when the teacher or whomever is in the hall, let's say, or out having a tea or a walk, and that there isn't such a kind of what am I trying to say? Just a lack of coherence of like just sort of this understanding of what realization really is. And of course, it's an education that might take lots and lots of time, because it's taking time in me. So it's going to take lots of time to be able to have the beliefs and the idealization and the imagination, and also this kind of coping strategy of wanting everything to go away, for that to mature and realize, oh, it includes this, it includes me as I am now. And that must mean it includes the teacher as they are. And then the teacher maybe being honest, yes, that's what's happening here. It includes that, and not hiding that, you know, to whatever degree one feels comfortable sharing about one's humanity. But I think that part is one of the things that we can sort of, I think, and I'm wondering what you feel when we think about what could this transform into. I think one of the bridges is this education of what really remains with an embodied human being.
Well, I mean, I just want to. I think. Well, first of all, I think this is true. What you're describing is true of the non-dual spiritual tradition, because if we think of the Christian tradition or even the Buddhist tradition, I do think there's more. It's less of a, you know, realized and then human. It's sort of, and in particular the Christian tradition, which I feel much more connected to now, because I think, oh, gee, like, yeah, you get to be human and you suffer and you doubt and you are with God, and or you are God, but you are also this suffering being or person. And so in the past few years, I'm so over this whole sort of separation between awakening, self-realization, and sort of life as Ellen. I just have no interest in. It's not even something that I can talk about anymore. I don't. So therefore, you know, in my little groups, I think that's gonna be no problem, because I just don't in any way. I don't even use the word awakening or realization. It's more that there are moments of meditation where sometimes some words will come that are, because we're silent and we're pausing, you know, we're not referring to the past or the future, then something very deep might come to the surface, which might resemble something to do with realization. But yeah, I just think everything remains, and perhaps the qualities of compassion. Perhaps it's more that with this understanding that all is included, perhaps we can learn and we can, as we go along, to be with what is more and more, to be with what life, the ultimate teacher, has on offer, and that develops qualities of humanity, like who cares about self-realization? It's compassion, respect for one another, interest, curiosity, yes, spaciousness, and sometimes, but yeah, I'm big on humanity these days because it's not an easy thing to acquire. So yeah, that's where I go with what you're speaking about, Susanne. Yeah.
Yes. I think for me, I definitely fell into that patriarchal model, and got disconnected from the world and my humanness for a chunk of years. And then knowing, oh, going back into the world is happening. Okay. And as that was sliding back in, my own recognition one more. I can remember the smells, the look, the color, the room I was in, one of those like really vivid moments of like attachment to the non-dual state is a real thing here. And it's like one gets swapped out for the other. So let's have a preference for this and diss everything that is human and unawakened. And for me, the beginning, I suppose the big shift, if I had to say, well, where was the moment when you actually started to include your humanity? It was when I saw that there was a preference for the non-dual state. And the attachment to it started to break down. And then, of course, the realizations went much deeper because it's like, oh, dual, non-dual, oh my God, it's not about either of them. It's not about either of them. Freedom exists outside of both. Oh, so then something like curled in my stomach when I saw the non-dual state being advertised as this nirvana, and I'm like, oh my God, would you unglue yourself? Like, what is this attachment to the non-dual state? But yeah, and
Well,
I think that's
it's
the
so
hiding place. The hiding
yeah,
place.
yeah. It's so appealing.
Yes.
It's so appealing. It's because it's hard to be embodied in a person, a human. It's hard, it's hard.
It's
I mean, let's
hard.
be honest. It's not just hard, but we're constantly sort of negotiating with polarities and ambivalence and so why are we sending these or why have we heard very misleading messages, and maybe we
Yes.
continue to send them, and yet there's a contradiction. Yet it is very pure, this teaching. It's so pure, so
Yes.
so essential. So I think it's a real wrestle, like it's a paradox, like, and not an easy one to resolve. And so some of these teachings that we know, teachers,
Yes.
they make it
Yes.
sound so absolutely, easy peasy, and it's not.
Yes. No, it's
Yes
not.
and
It's
no.
hard.
Yeah, yes and no.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the way that I've seen it for myself is that remembering what's the essential truth of what I am was very supportive, has been very supportive to living here as a human.
Sure.
Because then I used to be more lost in the content of being human. And now there's a feeling of exploring being human and without the fear of being lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what it's provided for me and what I try to share.
So lovely.
And what it seems to me is that just like with anything, the reason why it's been so imbalanced is because the world has been imbalanced for centuries, leaning more into a patriarchal domination model, and the voice of the feminine, the voice of honoring even Mother Earth, honoring form, and honoring anything that's made of time, that's temporal, which is the body, has been diminished and discarded as not being of value. So it seems to me that it's been a natural kind of expression in the spiritual world, whether it is in almost any of the traditions. Actually, I can see what you're saying about Christianity, but even
No,
there,
but
there's
the
this kind
body,
of purity model,
absolutely, absolutely.
but in Buddhism, for sure, it exists, and Hinduism exists, and non-duality is kind of more modern, new, taken from something ancient, right? Vedanta. But the reason why it keeps getting imprinted as being that the transcendent and the not being here is of more value than what is manifest, right? Is because of this imbalance, and it's just a complete expression of what has been, where the collective has been placing its attention and
Yes.
and valuing, and it just feels like that ship wants to be righted, because we're at a crisis in terms of, I mean,
The planet.
on the planet.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much more, honestly, Mother Earth can take in terms of our ignorance and of our unconsciousness, the way we're treating one another and treating form, all life. And so I think that's why it's like, okay, the voice of change wants to speak, even if it shakes, right? The voice of change. And
I'm
yeah,
with you 100% on that.
yeah,
And when you speak about that, I think about the goddess cultures and how disconnected they're not with us anymore. But we have to sort of excavate that knowledge and listen to our bodies and listen to the wild body. Our bodies are not
Yes.
these things. They're so full of,
Yes.
and the connection of the body with the earth and
Yes.
air and the senses and all of that. Feels so, what's the word? Like an emergency
yeah,
to go back to that.
yeah.
To that, it's not that, it's her. Like, it's not a that. It's I don't know, it's life. But it's
And listen,
and their devotion in me, I feel devotion immediately. Like I feel like I'm if you say let's organize a retreat where we, I don't know, in our own little ways, we just revive that. And I'm like, yes, please. I
Yes.
such a hunger for that.
to me, it's like putting our ear up against her in some way and listening. And here we are listening to one another, listening to even the collective that's suffering, and but to listen to maybe in a way that is like supporting a root of causality in terms of separate, realizing this is how separation plays itself out. It creates a lot of suffering and pain. And so, it is listening to some ancient ways of doing things like Native Americans, listening and honoring, but it's also current, right? It's current, like listening now.
Yeah.
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 I think I've just had a eureka. You know how we're acknowledging the difficulty in trying to find our own voice and to verbalize this inner knowing and what wants to be said. And yet, the three of us have this deep knowing that we are of the earth. We are of it, not like on it and eating from it, but we're of it.
Yeah.
So in us speaking, there is a voice for Pachamama, for Gaia. There is a voice, there's a continuum here. It's like if we're speaking, she's speaking. And the big eureka, the second part of the eureka, is like I've always felt like for years, like since my 20s, it's like we're going to screw up the earth. Why are we making water in plastic bottles? This is just stupid. And my family would have been very aware of the environment, so it was always very alive in me. Like I've always assumed that oh, Mother Nature will like burn us off or have floods or she'll get rid of loads of us. Actually, that's a male response. That's not something she'd do at all. That's the male response. That's the destruction of like, you're not going to do this anymore. That's a patriarchal model. I've just been like, oh my God, I projected a patriarchal response from her. I have no idea what she's going to do. I want to leave it wide open to see what Mother Earth is going to do because like I feel it's wide open. Like where is it going to go? I don't know. How is her next stage of evolution going to include, okay, and my destruction is here and my temporal nature is here, like imagining that the planet is saying this too, because we're the planet.
Yeah.
Like our response might be different to what I've always thought it would be.
That's interesting that you say that, Jack, because just a few days ago, so I've been having also kind of that more interesting that you say it, kind of male, patriarchal, kind of fire and brimstone, you know, off with your head, and kind of, and it's not just male, it's also, I really love Kali.
Yeah.
I'm really, you know, Kali's one of my archetypes, and she, you know, she's a little bit like that, you know,
Yes.
and part of me has been maybe feeling that way partially because sort of feeling at peace about it in some way, you know, not fighting that possibility, that possibility. And but the other day, this and I don't get very many ahas anymore. It's kind of like, you know, it's more fluid, it seems more seamless, just sort of understanding comes in. But this was an aha, it was just like a breakthrough, like aha, like you just said, I had a moment. And that was, and it was just like your moment in a way. And it was, that's what's not going to happen. It's not going to happen that way. And it was almost like from the inside out, it turned inside out, the understanding. And because life loves itself so much that it's going to create transformation, that doesn't have to happen that way. That's just, yeah. And maybe us having conversations and people having conversations and just working from the inside. So many people are trying in their way, whether on a spiritual kind of thing or political or, you know, society level, right? The caring.
Yes.
The caring's
Caring.
coming through.
Yes. And I mean, and postponing, yeah, Jack, when you're saying, you know, the floods and this, I mean, you're right, it's a conditioned response. And the moment you see it, then I guess then you're left in not knowing. And yeah, not knowing. I guess for
Yes.
me, the past few years, the humbling, what I have been humbled by, and because I've gone back into sort of deep psychological work, and it's been to see how, you know, really there's a man's voice.
Sorry, it's my
It's
condo.
okay.
There's a neighbor walking by.
It's okay. Um, to see the ways that I would sort of plunder my own psyche, like to really see, it's hard to put into words, but I had to sort of face, because it was sort of layers that were not immediately available to me. So it was through the sort of deep psychological work with my analyst that I started to see the colonial sort of, the part of me that wanted to grasp meaning or sort of extract meaning from my dreams or whatever, or the ways that I was treating my body. I mean, or it was like I had to really come up close to it, because I knew all that, but it was like just to really come close to it has been, I don't know, it's such a beautiful thing, because once you see it, it's not like it's gone forever, but it just, it's just like a gift to the goddess, to mother, to the mother, to say, yeah, here's what I'm seeing, and you put it back down, and I don't know how to put it into words, but I don't need to know anything about what's going to happen, really. You just have to be here and to be with each other and to smell the rainy gray days of England. Just to be more here and less there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think not bypassing anything by saying, "Oh, things will get better." It's like, hold on, hold on. No, it's not even that.
Not
It-
even that. We don't,
no, not even that. It's like,
it's not better or worse. It's not even in
that's right.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and not to be attracted by those pieces of candy,
Yeah.
doom and gloom, or it's like it's not about that
No.
paradigm of either or. That's what's breaking.
Exactly. 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 Yes. Yes.
Mm, beautiful. I was just reminded of that quote by, so I looked it up because I thought this quote was by Alice Walker, but really she popularized it. It's actually by a poet named June Jordan. And it's, "We are the ones we have been waiting for."
Hmm.
And I, for me, I think that's one of the reasons why the voice is finding its way, is because it's birthing itself currently now as creator. We're creator, speaking and birthing ourselves and waking up here and being asleep here.
Mm.
But we're finding our way and speaking to something. It's not like, oh, whatever will be. It's all just the great
Oh,
unknown, and a sort of a yin passive uh,
right.
kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's it's
Co-creation.
it's co-creation.
We.
It's exactly, we're dreaming it now. We're
Mhm.
speaking it now. We're participating in the one voice of maybe what wants to be spoken here, and with our ear and listening to what wants to
Yeah,
be
and
spoken.
it feels like political almost. Like that's how we have, I mean, you're describing a process that's happening effortlessly and but we're participating and but so what's coming in that process is yes, and it's important. It's important. And I'm not saying you must, you should, but I am secretly I'm saying you must. You must, you, whoever you are, who's watching, you must be interested in life and listen and question and yeah, no, I really feel it. I mean, obviously, everybody should really follow their own journey, but
yeah,
because each one has a voice, each one, right? We each have a part to play, and but we don't know what it is, so we have to listen and moment by moment,
yes,
and we need each other to mirror back and see
yes,
and we go see a spiritual leader and we might ask a question, but hopefully that leader will engage with us and not give us a ready-made answer, but will sort of, I don't know, something in the field will be in operation where the person who questioned will trust herself, trust what might be birthing
Mm.
her own intimate connection with this mystery, which everybody's got their own way of. It's like God is this, has so many affairs. It's really decadent. With each one of us, there's this love
It's,
affair.
great.
ah, yeah, it's getting beyond I just realized there's a little bridge between what we were starting in our conversation earlier and now, in terms of the awakening and humanizing this kind of model, and wanting to, and seeing where we've been caught, some of us to greater degrees and lesser degrees, but caught by this paradigm of the old model, and what we're leaning into now, which is so outside of a model. And that's when true intelligence really emerges, when you're not being, stuck in some kind of belief system and operating within it, collective belief or internalized belief. There's something new that's born that actually has wisdom in the moment. It contains wisdom in the moment. Of course, that's what satsang ultimately is hopefully about, wisdom in the moment. But what we're talking about now is actually something that is giving voice to birthing something new. And it's happening all kinds of places everywhere, but this is something we're doing here now. It's an alive thing. I'm really appreciating it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's more about modeling it than teaching it. It's in the doing, because that's where otherwise it goes into the concept and we're gone back into, oh, I should. It's not about that.
Right.
No.
Right.
It's like right here, right now, what is present?
Yes. And something about authenticity. Like I feel the three of us are sort of speaking out of the moment and
Yeah.
just, I don't know, there's something about honesty, authentic. We're not reaching for some prefabricated
Yes.
Yeah.
thing.
Tried and tested format.
Right.
And I noticed our voice isn't
that's-
shaking anymore. It's not shaking anymore. Whatever it was, it's not
Yeah.
because it's like now it takes a little time sometimes, like you said, Elle, in the beginning, that takes time. It takes time to kind of just find our way to whatever this is.
Yeah. So lovely, really. I appreciate.
Oh, so gorgeous, yeah.
Maybe we do this again.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a springboard.
Yeah, there's a series in this.
Yeah.
Maybe a season or two.
I'm so appreciating us coming together and these different time zones and different places on the earth that we're at right now.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you just wanted to say? Anything else lingering or something for the collective, the whomever is listening?
Just gratitude.
Oh.
And I'm celebrating that it isn't, this is my website, this is my book, it's like, it's a load of horse crap, really. You know, it's like right here, right now, is my heart open? Could it be more open?
Ah, yes, a nice breath. All right. Well, much love.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
And to
Thank you,
everyone.
Susanna, for hosting us.
Oh, my pleasure.